to all. Today's daf is Nedarim daf Samach Daled. We are starting at the top of the daf with a brand new parak. And today's daf is sponsored Lili Nishmas, Mars, Miriam, Sarah, Basar, Yaakov, Moshe, her neshama should have an aliyah, and Lili Nishmas, Rabbi Chamil, Mordechai, Ben Reb Chaim, his neshama should have an aliyah. Now from this parak on, we're going to be discussing hafaras and hataras nedarim, the annulment of nedarim. Now there is a big difference between these two terms, so let's get them clear. Hafara is removing or revoking a woman's neder, and this can only be done by her father or husband and only in certain situations. Hatara is annulment of a neder by a chacham or three hadyotas. And we use hatara for anyone's neder. So I'm going to focus on hatara. And as mentioned previously, one of the ways to be mater neder is by finding a pesach, literally an opening. How does this work? The neder goes to the chacham and asks for hatara, so the chacham tries to figure out if the neder created a situation or had a consequence that had the neder known about it at the time of his neder, he never would have made such a neder. If this is the case, then the chacham can say mutalach, 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 and the neder is now retroactively annulled. So we begin with the machlokes. The Mishnah tells us, Rabbi Eliezer says, we can use the honor of a person's father or mother as a pesach, Now what does this mean? So this would be a person made a neder, and then the chacham tells him, if you knew that making this neder would bring about embarrassment to your father or mother, would you have made that neder? And if the fellow says no, so we can be mater's neder for him, and that's the pesach that we're allowed to use. And the chacham argue with this, and we're going to see in the Gemara why they argue. Now Rabbi Tzaddik says on Rabbi Eliezer, once we're using the honor of his father or mother for a pesach, so they should use the honor of Hashem for a pesach. Meaning, according to Rabbi Tzaddik, Rabbi Eliezer holds that we can even use kavod Hashem as a pesach. They would tell him, if you knew that this brought about a lack of kvod shemayim to Hashem, would you have made this neder? And then if he says no, then we can be mater the neder. Now the chacham argue with this, and they say it can't be that Rabbi Eliezer agrees in that situation because im kain ein nedarim. If that's so, there's no nedarim, and we're going to see in the Gemara what that means. There's no nedarim. However, the Mishnah continues, the Chum do agree to Rabbi Eliezer, but davar shebeinu lebein av v'imai, that his neder had to do with his father or mother. For example, he said that they're not allowed to benefit from him, so then we are allowed to use the pesach of the covet of his father or mother to be mat to that neder. Furthermore, Rabbi Eliezer also says, we can use nailad as a pesach for neder. Nailad literally means something which was born, which over here means a brand new development. It's not something that he could have or would have thought about when he made the neder. And now we're going to have a few cases of nailad. Ketzad, what's a case of nailad? Let's say the fellow said, Kainam shani nenelish pliny, Kainam, I'm not going to get benefit from that man, Benasa Cipher. And then the fellow became a cipher, which means either he became a Talmud Chacham or he actually became a cipher, a scribe. Or that fellow that he made neder that he's not going to get benefit from was marrying off his son. And then the fellow said, if I knew that that fellow would become a Talmud Chacham or a cipher, or that he'd be marrying off his son pretty soon, I never would have made a neder. Or another example, fellow says, I'm not going into that house. And then that house became a shul. And the fellow said, if I knew that that house would have become a shul, I never would have made the neder. So Rabbi Eliezer says in these cases it's permitted, meaning now his neder is null and void, and the chacham aser. All these cases that we just mentioned, this is considered nailad. When he made the neder, he couldn't have thought that the fellow was going to become a Talmud Chacham or a cipher, or that he was going to be marrying off his son anytime soon, or that this house would become a shul. These are all very rare things that he couldn't even have assumed might have happened when he made the neder, and that's considered nailad. Rabbi Eliezer says this is a valid pesach, and the chacham say not a valid pesach. Now the Gemara focuses on the beginning of the Mishnah. Rabbi Tzaddik had said that in Shitas Rabbi Eliezer, a valid pesach for this person's neder would be kavod hamakayim, whereas the chacham had said im kain ein nedarim. So now the Gemara asks, my ein nedarim, what does that mean, ein nedarim? So Rabbi says im kain ein nedarim nitarn yafe. If that's really so that we can use kavod hamakayim as a pesach for neder, nedarim are not going to be annulled well or properly. What does that mean? So a fellow's going to come to Bezdin, or he's going to come to the chacham, and he's going to say, I want hatar for my neder. So the chacham's going to tell him, if you knew that this would bring about a lack of kvod shemayim when you made this neder, would you have made the neder? So what do you want the fellow to say? Yeah, I still would have made the neder. A person would be embarrassed to say that he still would have made the neder, even though it would have brought about a lack of kvod shemayim. So of course the fellow's going to say, no, I never would have made the neder. Then the chacham will be mater for him. But it's not really true. The fellow's not really being honest. He really would have made the neder. He's just embarrassed to admit it. So according to Rabbi, that's why we can't use this pasach of kavod hamakayim. Now Samach Daled based on top of Rav Amar, he says, im kain ein nedarim nish'al l'chacham. People aren't going to go to the chacham to be shayal on their nedarim. If a person knows that with any neder that they make, they have a valid pasach of kvod shemayim, so they're not going to bother going to the chacham. They're just going to say, oh, if I knew this would have brought about about a lack of Kavod Shemaim, I wouldn't have made it the neder. Okay, forget about it. My neder's mattered, and Zehu, I don't have to bother going to the Chacham. And now we know that the only way to get rid of a neder is by going to the Chacham. So therefore, this is not a valid Pesach. And now we're going to try to bring a raya. Tanan Our Moshe says, that if this is a neder that has to do with his father or mother, for example, he made a neder that his father or mother cannot get benefit from him, that we are allowed to use a Pesach of Kavod Av V'imai. So now we're going to try to understand why the Chum would agree in this case. We understand according to Abaye the Amar that Abaye had said, Im Kain Ein Nedarim Nitarin, that if so, that if you're going to use such a Pesach, Nedarim are not going to be Nitar Yafeh, and therefore we can understand why the Chachamim disagree with Rabbi Eliezer in the case of a regular neder, where the neder wasn't against his father or mother, that we're not allowed to be Pesach b'chavod av v'imai, because we're afraid the person is not going to be honest with us. The Chachamim are afraid that they're going to tell him, if you knew that by making this neder, you'd bring about a lack of kavod to your father or mother, would you have made this neder? We're afraid the person's going to say, I never would have made the neder, even though he really would have made the neder, he's just embarrassed to admit so. So we can understand that's why the Chachamim argue with Rabbi Eliezer in that case. Whereas Hacha over here, when the person made the neder against his father or mother, since he was ready in mechutzef, since he was already brazen enough to make a neder against his father or mother, so he already has this quality in him, he already has this brazenness to him, this forwardness, and we don't have to be afraid that he's going to lie and say, no, I never would have made this neder if I knew that it would have brought about a lack of kavod to my father or mother. He's already brazen enough to make a neder against his father or mother, so we can trust him to be honest with us in this case. El Rava, but according to Rava, the Amr that Rava had said, Im Kain Ein Nedarim Nish'al L'Chacham, that if so, if a person knows of a Pesach for a neder, he's not going to bother asking the Chacham to be matter it, he's just going to matter his own neder. Over here, when he makes a neder against his father or mother, why are we allowed to be Pesach for him? Why shouldn't we be afraid that he's going to end up being matter his own neder? So Gemara answers that's not a problem. Amr, they said, since all other nedarim, it's not sufficient to be matter without going to a Chacham. In other words, every other neder he's going to have to go to the Chacham. Over here also, we're going to be Pesach for him, I wouldn't have to be afraid that he's going to end up being matter his own neder in this particular case, because he knows that all other nedarim he has to go to the Chacham, so this one he's also going to go to the Chacham. And Mishat said, and there was this machlokes in the Mishnah between Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim, are we allowed to use noiled, something brand new, a new development, as a Pesach for a neder? Rabbi Eliezer said yeah, the Chacham said no. Now my time is Rabbi Eliezer, what's Rabbi Eliezer's reasoning? Amar Chisda, he says, because the Pasuk says, Kimesu kol anashim, for all the men died. What's this referring to? So we know that Moshe Rabbeinu had to run away from Mitzrayim, Pari wanted to kill him, people were out for his head, he went down to Midian, married Yisro's daughter, and he made a neder to Yisro that he's not going to leave. And we're going to see more about this neder tomorrow. And this pasuk we just read is the heter of that neder. Kim mesu kol anashim. All the people that were trying to kill you, they died. So therefore now your neder's not chal anymore. And the Gemara explains, Misa the noiledhu. Misa, dying, is considered noiled, and that's considered a new development. That's not something that a person could imagine or would be thinking about when he makes the neder, that this person might die. Mikan, learn from here, we could use noiled as a Pesach. Now Rabbanan my tamayu, what's Rabbanan's reason? Why do they argue? That's because they hold Hanumi Maisi. Did these people really die? Who are the people that were out for Moshe Rabbeinu's life? Dasan and Aviram, they were the ones that told on Moshe Rabbeinu to Parai, and because of that, Moshe Rabbeinu had to run away. And Dasan and Aviram didn't die. And how do we know this? Because Va'amar B'Yechanan Mishum B'Shem Me'echai, Kol Makam Shnemer Nitzim V'Nitzavim. Anytime the pasuk says Nitzim or Nitzavim, Einon Ela Dasan and Aviram, it's referring to Dasan and Aviram. So these people didn't die. So why was Moshe Rabbeinu allowed to go back? He had his neder on him. El Amar Shlakish says Shiardim Nechsehen. They lost all their possessions, and that's considered like dying. So when the pasuk says that they died, it doesn't mean that they literally died. It means that they became poor, and that's something that's not considered noilad. Becoming poor is something which is fairly common, and therefore according to the Chachamim, it's not considered a case of noilad. And now once we mention that becoming poor is like dying, we have something similar. Amar Shubin Levi, Kol Adam She'in Lebanim. Anyone that doesn't have children, Chashik Kames, is like they're dead. Shenever the pasuk says Havli Banim Vim Ayin Mesa Naichi. Rachel told Yaakov, bring me children. If not, it's like I'm dead. By the time we have a Brayser Abach Shuvin Kames, there's 4 people that it's like they're dead. Ani umitzara v'suma umisha in lebanim. Someone who's poor, someone who has saras, someone who's blind, and someone that doesn't have children. Ani, how do we know a poor person? The Chesiv says in the pasuk, Kimesu kol anashim. All the people that want to kill you, they died. And as we just said, they didn't die, they just became poor. Mitzayra, what about a mitzayra? The Chesiv says in the pasuk, Al natehi kames. She shouldn't be like a mace. This is when Aaron HaKohen was davening for Miriam, who had saras. He's saying she should not be like a mace. Take away her saras. It must be someone that has saras like a mace. Besuma, someone who's blind. The Chesiv says in the pasuk, he placed me in the dark like the dead people of the world. And Misha in Lebanim, the Chesiv says in the pasuk, Havli banim vim ayin mesa anaychi. Bring me children. If not, it's like I'm dead. We're going to stop here for the day. Pick up tomorrow and continue to talk about this neder of Moshe Rabbeinu. For now, everyone should have a wonderful day.